Hi everyone, Rick Vonn here from Penn Johnson, and my little dog Wyatt's here. Hi Wyatt, how you doing, buddy? He's a music dog. So hey, been getting a lot of questions lately about performance type stuff, and so I wrote down a couple and just thought I'd answer them here for you. First, one of the questions that I've gotten is from bass players, and this one really kind of hit home for me. It was one that I'm like, you know what, this actually is something that I had a problem with when I was playing bass in a band. And the question was, it said, hey, I play bass and it's a pain hauling around my big amp for practices. Should I use my performance amp for practices or something more manageable? Well, actually that's a really good question, because you know, when you're practicing, you want to get the sound tuned in for the gig, right? And so if you use a different amp for practice than what you do for your gigs, then maybe you won't have it dialed in for your gigs. So I actually had this issue myself, and a member of Penn Johnson who plays dobro for us, Todd Yan, he plays for a bluegrass band here down in Franklin, Tennessee, called the Grateful Bluegrass Band. And I had the pleasure of sitting in with those guys one time for a couple gigs this past spring. And to get familiar with the music, I said, hey, you know what? Todd knows all this stuff. I'm going to go, hi, Wyatt. You're a good boy. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Wyatt's such a music dog, everybody. He's a black lab, and he just loves being around people. So I'm just going to scratch his ears while we're going here. Anyways, so I went over to Todd's place, said, hey, would you mind running through some of the stuff with me before we do practice? Because you always come to practice prepared. You know, you don't come in and be late to practice, you know, and all that, and not know this stuff. So Todd was gracious enough, said, yeah, come on over, man, and we'll do this. He's like, you know, I got an amp over here for the bass, and you can just run through that. And I'm thinking, oh man, you know what? I really need my big amp to get this dialed in for the gig. But Todd was so gracious, and I'm like, you know what, just for this one time I'll do that. So I run over there, and he's got this great little practice amp, okay? And it is just dialed in great. It sounds great. And so I thought, this is pretty awesome. So I picked one up, and if you actually have, and this thing's actually good for small halls too. So I picked up this little Fender. It's a Rumble 25, and this is all the amp I need when I'm practicing bass with the guys. Now, if you got a lot of loud drums and stuff like that, this thing will actually cut through that, and it's actually pretty good for small halls too. And if you're doing a DI situation at a gig, I'm telling you, this thing actually, you know, you just do your out for your other line, and you can just run into this for your monitor on stage if you don't have in-ears or something. This is a great little amp. I paid $100 for it. Actually got a little bit better deal than that, you know, because I went to my local music store up here in down by Nashville, Tennessee, and I worked out a little deal with them. And I do a lot of buying and selling guitars there, so they gave me a little bit better deal than the list price. I gotta tell you, I'm not getting paid by Fender for this, but this here is a great little amp, the Rumble 25. It's got a little 8-inch speaker in it. I didn't think that would be big enough, but this thing really carries it, man. I'm telling you, it's a great little practice amp, and if you wanted to use it for a gig with small halls and that, it's good for that too. For my outdoor stuff, I still use my big performance amp. But for practice amp, you can't go wrong with this Fender Rumble 25.